Hello everyone. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to Viti Pathshala. In this class, we would be going to start the 11th class, the economics. And in the 11th class, we have to do the 7th chapter, 8th chapter, and the 9th chapter. So over the next week जो है आपका 11th class चलेगा. देन द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट जो है वो हमारा ट्वेल्थ है बिकॉज इट इज अबाउट योर दी ट्वेल्थ इज योर दी मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स वो ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है तो उस पर हम ज्यादा ध्यान देंगे वी विल बी मोर फोकसिंग ऑन दैट सो दिस चैप्टर इट इज अबाउट द इंडियन इकोनॉमी वो ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट देन लेट्स स्टार्ट द चैप्टर नाउ इंडिया India will be a global player in the digital economy. It was said by the Sundar Pichai, who is the CEO of the Google. Now, what would be our learning objectives in this chapter? So, we would be understanding the current status of the Indian economy in terms of what are its features, the natural resources, the infrastructure facilities, and so on. So, these things would be more helpful for you in the upcoming the mains paper. So, these wherever you find the word natural resources infrastructure facilities these are to be asked in the mains. Now second thing is to understand the contribution of the major Indian economic thinkers. So that would be the last part. This chapter we would be going to do in three classes. So today is the first part, then on Monday and Tuesday we would be taking two more classes. Now, first comes is the meaning and the growth of the development. What do you mean by the growth and the development? This earlier also we have studied what is the difference between growth and the development. One is quantitative and the other is the qualitative. Now, a country's economic growth is usually measured by the national income indicated by the gross domestic product. Now, GDP is the total monetary value of the goods and services. So, what is GDP? It is the total monetary value of the goods and service produced by the country over a specific period of time, and that is usually 1 year. So, these definition we have done earlier also. So, wherever the things which we have done earlier, we would be moving a little fast. The level the economic development is indicated not just by the GDP but by an increase in the citizens quality of the life or the well-being. सो सिर्फ आपका ये नेशनल इनकम जीडीपी एंड पीपीपी ये नहीं बताते कि आपका जो है ये आपका बताएंगे कि ग्रोथ को जो है बताते हैं वहीं अगर हम बात करें एक व्यक्ति की एक सिटीजन की डेवलपमेंट इट इज नॉट ऑल अबाउट द जीडीपी इट कंसर्न्स अबाउट अदर फैक्टर्स आल्सो तो उसमें आपके दूसरे फैक्टर्स भी आते हैं जिसको हम डेवलपमेंट के नजर से देखते हैं so the quality of the life is being assessed by the so GDP measures the quantity and whereas the human development index and other they measure the quality. So the quality of the life is being assessed by the several indices such as the human development index, the physical quality of the life index, and the gross national happiness index. Now, what do you mean by the gross national happiness index, GNHI? The gross national happiness was coined by the fourth king of the Bhutan. So we have earlier also we have seen a story. So at an airport he met with a person and there he discussed is the happiness means. Now, the Bhutan Jigme Singye Wangchuk in the 1972. It is an indicator of the progress which measures the sustainable development. So, what does it measure? It measures the sustainable development, environmental conservation, promotion of the culture and the good governance. Later on, the idea was adopted by the United Nations and it was implemented. Now, on the basis of the level of the economic development, nations are classified as the developed and the developing. सो नेशंस को जो है डेवलपमेंट के हिसाब से जो है उनको क्लासिफाई किया जाता है, या तो वो डेवलप्ड हैं या फिर अभी वो डेवलपिंग हैं. नाउ डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज आर दोज विच आर इंडस्ट्रियलाइज्ड. हम बात करें डेवलप्ड कौन से को हम मानते हैं कि वो डेवलप्ड है, वो कंट्रीज जहां पर इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन हो चुका है. नाउ दे हैव यूटिलाइज्ड देयर रिसोर्सेज एफिशिएंटली एंड हैव द हाई पर कैपिटा इनकम. सो पीसीआई उनकी बहुत ज्यादा है, तो उसको हम बोलेंगे दैट इज अ डेवलप्ड कंट्री. The USA, Canada, UK, France, and the Japan are the some of the developed economies. These are the examples of the developed economies. Now, developed economies are also termed as the advancement in the technology, advancement in the infrastructure, advancement in the facilities. Now, on the other hand, the countries which have not fully utilized their resources, जैसे कि land, the mines workers etc, and have the low per capita income, और इनको हम बोलेंगे the underdeveloped economies. Examples of the underdeveloped economies, you will find underdeveloped countries in the Africa mostly. So the sub-Saharan Africa, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Pakistan, Indonesia, these are underdeveloped countries. Now Pakistan though got independence with us only, but it is far behind us. And because there are the several factors that are responsible for that. Now, if we consider the Bangladesh has progressed so much if as compared to the sorry, as compared to the Pakistan. Now, Pakistan has more resources than the India. So they have the gas and the petrol reserves, but they are not utilizing them in a proper manner. Now, they are also termed as the underdeveloped countries or the backward nations or the third world nations. Now, the next topic we would be going to start is the Indian economy. Now, Indian economy is the seventh largest economy of the world. So remember, here they have shown you a GDP growth rate chart, and the highest GDP is of the USA, then comes the China, then Japan, the Germany, United Kingdom, France, India. India is the seventh. Then comes the Italy, Brazil, and the Canada. So India's economy वो सातवें नंबर पे आती है, being one of the top listed countries in terms of the industrialization and the economic growth. India holds a robust position with an average growth of the rate of the 7% approximately. Now, even though the rate of the growth has been sustainable and comparatively stable, there are the signs of the backwardness. So growth rate अभी तक कोविड से पहले ठीक था, but now this growth rate it has come down and it is analyzed that it may go negatively. Now, what are the features? They have given the features of the developed economy. So, in the developed economies, you will be having a high national income, high per capita income, high standards of the living, full employment of the resources, dominance of the industrial sector, and the manufacturing sector it dominates rather than the service sector and the agriculture sector. High level of the technology, high industrialization, high consumption level, high level of urbanization, smooth economic growth, social equity, gender equality, and the low level of the poverty, political stability, and the good governance. So these points you can mention in your mains exam. So this topic is the um, developed and the underdeveloped is a topic of your mains. Now next topic is the features of the Indian economy. Now first comes is the Strengths of the Indian economy. First comes is that the India is a mixed economy. Now, what do you mean by the mixed economy? So, when the India got independence, there were the two models before the India. One model was of the socialist world, that is the USSR model, in which the all the things was in the hand of the government. Socialism or the communalism, it focuses on the equality, to provide equality to everyone, whereas there was a capitalist model behind us and before us, sorry, not behind us, before us, and that was of the US model or the European model. So we were so much confused and with regard to the model which should be adopted. So we choose to have a mixture of the both. So we took the best things of the both the models. Now, India economy is a typical example of the mixed economy. Now, this means the both the private and the public sectors, they coexist and function this smoothly. On one side, some of the fundamental and the heavy industrial units are being operated under the public sector, while due to the liberalization of the economy, the private sector has gained the importance. This makes it a perfect model of the public-private partnership. Now, next key characteristics of the Indian is that the agriculture here, it play a dominant role. Now, if I talk to you about the agriculture, so earlier also I told you, so when India got independent, the majority of the population was engaged in the agriculture or the primary occupation or the primary sector. Approx 60 to 65% of the population, it was engaged and it was practicing the primary activities. And the major part of our economy was based on the agriculture and the irrigation. So the most fertile area was the Indus River area and the Indus and its tributaries area. And after the partition, it went to the Pakistan. And also the Kandla port, where the maximum the export was done, that also went to the Pakistan. Then with India, then we have to develop the, sorry, the Karachi port went to the Pakistan, and we have to develop the another port in the Gujarat. Now, agriculture being the maximum pursued occupation in the India, it plays an important role in its economy as well. Around 60% of the people in the India depend upon the agriculture for their livelihood. In fact, the 17% of the GDP today is contributed by the agriculture sector. Now, evergreen revolution, inventions in the biotechnology had made the agriculture self-sufficient and also the surplus production. The export of the agriculture products such as the fruit, vegetables, spices, vegetable oils, tobacco, animal skin, etc. also added to the forex earning. That is the money that we receive by selling or the exporting the things. That is the foreign exchange. Foreign forex means here the foreign exchange earning through the international trading. Next here comes is your the third is the an emerging market. Now, due to the population, India is a huge market for the world. Now, India has emerged as a vibrant economy, sustainable, stable GDP growth rate. So, word which they have used, sustaining stable GDP growth rate. So, as it is, you have to write in your exam. Even in the midst of the global downtrend, this has attracted the significant foreign capital investment and the FII. So this was also talked by the Prime Minister from the Red Fort. Do remember that. Now, India has a high potential for the prospective growth. This also makes it an emerging market for the world. Now, next comes is the emerging economy. Now, world nations in the G20. Now, these are the G20 members. You should remember all these 20 countries. So, ये आपका जो है international relations का पार्ट है. सो G20 के कौन कौन से सदस्य हैं? अर्जेंटीना, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, ब्राजील, कनाडा, चाइना, यूरोपियन यूनियन, फ्रांस, जर्मनी, इंडिया, इंडोनेशिया, इटली, then Japan, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea, and then the Turkey, United Kingdom, and the United States. Emerging economy. Now, emerging as the top economy giant among the world economy, India bags the seventh position in terms of the nominal GDP and third in the purchasing power parity. This is very important for your exam point of view. You have to write this as it is. Now, as a result of the rapid economic growth, India's economy has a place. Indian economy has a place among the G20 countries. Next comes is the fast growing economy. So India's economy is a fast growing economy. India economy is well known for the high and the sustained growth. It has emerged as the world fastest growing economy in the year 2016 and the 17 with the growth rate of the 7.1 in the GDP next to the People's Republic of the China. Now, fastest growing sectors, which are the fastest growing sectors in the India? The service sector contributes a lion share of the GDP in the India. Now, there has been a high rise in the technical sectors like the information technology, BPO, etc. Now, these sectors have contributed to the growth in the economy. These emerging service sectors have helped the country go global and the helped in spreading its branches around the world. Next comes is the large domestic consumption. Now, with the faster growth rate in the economy, the standard of the living has improved a lot. Now, this in turn has resulted in the rapid increase in the domestic consumption of the country. The standard of the living has considerably improved and the lifestyle of the people it has changed over the period of the time. The next thing that comes is the rapid growth of the urban areas. Urbanization is the key ingredient of the growth of an economy. So urbanization shows that the economy has developed or it has grown. Now, there has been a rapid growth of the urban areas in India after the independence. Improved connectivity in the transport and the communication, education, health has speeded up the pace of the urbanization. Next comes is the stable macro economy. So India has a stable macro economy. Now, Indian economy has been projected and considered as one of the most stable economies of the world. The current year economic survey it represents. So they are talking about the when the book was published in the 2018, the economic survey. It represents the Indian economy to be the heaven of the macro stability, resilience, and the optimism. According to the economic survey, for the year 2014-15, 8% plus GDP growth rate has been predicted, with actual growth rate turning out to be a little less, that is the 7.6. तो 8% अनुमान लगाया गया था और जो growth हुई वो 7.6 हुई. Now this is the clear indication of the stable macroeconomic growth. Now next comes is the demographic dividend. This is very important. India as a country has a youth as the demographic dividend. Now, the human capital of the India is young. Human capital means that the population is young in the India. This means that the India is the pride owner of the maximum percentage of the youth. The youth, they have the energy. the youth population is not only motivated but skilled and trained enough to maximize the growth. So in India, we have the population. What we required the skill and the training, and that's why the focus of the government is on the skill India. Thus, the human capital plays a key role in the maximizing the growth prospect of the in the country. Also, this has invited the foreign investment to the country and outstanding outsourcing opportunities too. Now, these were the positives of the Indian economy or the features of the Indian economy. Now, next comes what are the weakness of the Indian economy? कुछ तो कमियां भी होंगी. Now, the कमी क्या है? सबसे पहले आती है that is the large population. So, India has a large population. India stands the second in terms of the size of the population and next to the China. Now, our country is likely to overtake the China in the near future. Population growth rate of the India is very high, and this is always a hurdle to the growth rate. So इतनी ज्यादा पॉपुलेशन, पॉवर्टी ज्यादा होगी, लोग ज्यादा होंगे, एजुकेशन मतलब कि ज्यादा खर्चा करना पड़ेगा, रिसोर्सेज कम है, एंड एनवायरनमेंट में पढ़ते हो आप, यू स्टडी एट द ओवरशूट डे. So India's overshoot day or the footprint, ecological footprint, now that has been rising, and we require जो आज इंडिया का साइज है उसका 2.5 गुना रिसोर्सेज हमें चाहिए. सो दैट इज द रिक्वायरमेंट. इतनी ज्यादा जनसंख्या है, और इसको तो जो है हमारे प्रधानमंत्री ने भी बोला है लाल किले से बार 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 ये अनाउंस किया है कि इस पे कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा. और नेक्स्ट लग रहा है कि देयर कैन बी अ पॉलिसी ऑन दी दिस. द एनुअल एडिशन ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन equals the total population of the Australia. Now inequality and the poverty, आप जो है ज्योग्राफी में पढ़ते हो कि पॉपुलेशन कैसे जो है वो इफेक्ट करती है. सो एक ग्राफ होता है ज्योग्राफी में जो आप पढ़ते हो, और द एनवायरनमेंट में. नाउ देयर आर दी सम कंट्रीज. Now, for example, they have the less population, so they are the under, and we have the more population. But ultimately, what do we require? We require the optimum level. सो ये जो आपका है, ये इसमें दे हैव द लेस पॉपुलेशन, वो अपने लोगों को अट्रैक्ट करते हैं, वो उनके लिए जो है पॉलिसीज लेके आते हैं. सो डेट फॉर एग्जांपल बेबी, अगर आप जो है जितने ज्यादा बेबी होंगे उतने उनको ज्यादा स्कीम दे दिया कि कार मिलेगी, वॉशिंग मशीन मिलेगी, फ्रिज मिलेगा, एंड सो. सो ये कंट्रीज हैं जैसे कि जापान हो गया, देन यूरोप की कंट्रीज हो गई एग्जांपल. सो इन कंट्रीज में जो है नेगेटिव ग्रोथ है, और यहाँ पे वेयर एज द इन द इंडिया, पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश, इंडोनेशिया, सो दीज आर दी कंट्रीज जो ओवर पॉपुलेटेड हैं. सो ये चीज आप एनवायरनमेंट में पढ़ते हो, यू स्टडी दिस इन द एनवायरनमेंट. नाउ inequality and the poverty. Now there exists a huge economic disparity in the Indian economy. The proportion of the income and the assets owned by the 10% of the Indian goes on increasing. This has led to the increase and in the poverty level of the society, and still a higher percentage of the individuals are below the poverty line. सो इंदिरा गांधी के टाइम से हम सुनते आ रहे हैं, फ्रॉम द टाइम ऑफ द इंदिरा गांधी, दैट द पॉवर्टी स्कीम्स आर मेड बाय द ईच एंड द एवरी गवर्नमेंट, बट वी आर नॉट एबल टू reduce the poverty. As a result, the unequal distribution of the rich becomes the richer and the poor becomes the poorer. Now, next comes is the increasing prices and the of the essential goods. Now, even though there has been a constant growth in the GDP and the growth opportunities in the Indian economy, there have been steady increase in the prices of the essential good. Now, the continuous rise of the prices erodes the purchasing power and the adversely affects the poor people whose income is not protected. Now, for example, the price of the tomato is has gone to the 70 rupees. सो प्राइस इतना ज्यादा बढ़ गया है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आप जो है आधा किलो जो है टमाटो लेके आए ऑफ 35 रुपीज, एंड मान लो उनमें से आपका दो टमाटो वो खराब निकलेगा, खराब निकलता है. तो अल्टीमेटली अ पर्सन दैट ही इज स्पेंडिंग 35 रुपीज, अर्लियर इन द 35 रुपीज यू गेट दी 2.5 किलो आपको जो टमाटो मिलता था. तो दैट इज द सिनेरियो. जितनी ज्यादा जनसंख्या उतनी ज्यादा डिमांड होगी, उतनी ज्यादा डिमांड होगी तो कॉमोडिटी तो सिर्फ कम है ना. सो टमाटोज सिर्फ मार्केट में जितना एग्रीकल्चर हो रहा है, जितनी जमीन पे टमाटो उग रहा है उतनी ही जो है टमाटो है. But ultimately you will find that the demand of the people is huge, so the price will rise. The price of the potato is rising constantly. So government की scheme भी है. The government has a scheme and the emphasis on the top: tomato, onion and the potato. ये तो basic need है, you require in every home. Now, the continuous rises in the prices erodes the purchasing power and adversely affects the poor people whose income is not protected. So ultimately affect किस पे पड़ता है? पुअर पर पड़ता है. इ- बेचारा जो पुअर है ना वो दूध पी रहा है, ना वो जो है उसको अच्छी डाइट नहीं मिल रही है, ना वो पल्सेस खा रहा है. पल्सेस के भी रेट महंगे हैं, 100 रुपीज पर केजी पल्सेस आ रही है, तो वो अफोर्ड नहीं कर पा रहा. ही इज नॉट ईटिंग द pulses. Then if these vegetables price will also rise, then what will he eat? So then comes the question of the malnutrition. तो वहीं पर बात आती है malnutrition की. And ultimately when we study about the taxes, there are the so many people who don't want to pay the taxes. गवर्नमेंट को टैक्स नहीं देना चाहते हैं, टैक्स इवेजन करते हैं. सो गवर्नमेंट के पास पैसा नहीं होगा तो गवर्नमेंट कैसे जो है अब पुअर को पॉवर्टी से ऊपर लेके आएगी. सो पॉपुलेशन के लिए हमें सोचना पड़ेगा. एंड इफ द गवर्नमेंट कम्स विद द वन चाइल्ड पॉलिसी, देन दिस इज अ डिक्टेटरशिप. अगली सरकार को लेके आओ. बट वही है ना कि अब रिसोर्सेज नहीं मिल पाएंगे ना. एक घर में अगर 5 बच्चे हैं तो उस सबको उतना खाना नहीं मिल पाएगा, क्योंकि रिसोर्सेज उतने ही हैं, उस जमीन वो उतना ही उगा के दे सकती है. देन फिर हम जेनेटिक की तरफ भागते हैं कि हमें बोलते हैं कि जेनेटिक खेती होनी चाहिए. ठीक है, पर हेक्टेयर मैक्सिमम यील्ड होना चाहिए. तो और फिर इससे बीमारियां आती हैं. Now, next is the weak infrastructure. Even though there has been a gradual improvement in the infrastructure development in the past few decades, there is still a scarcity of the basic infrastructure like the power, transport, the storage, etc. For example, Delhi Metro, you will see that Delhi Metro runs, it has a service of the 1 or 2 minutes. हर एक मिनट में या 2 मिनट में एक जो है गाड़ी आती है और वो फुल होती है, बिल्कुल फुल होती है. क्योंकि जो है लोग ज्यादा हैं, कॉम्यूट ज्यादा कर रहे हैं, एंड जो मेजर सेंटर्स हैं जैसे कि दिल्ली, मुंबई, कलकत्ता, दी बैंगलोर, ये जो है ये हब बन गए हैं और यहाँ पे पॉपुलेशन एक्सप्लोजन हो रहा है. एंड दिस दे हैव बिकेम अ आर्टिफिशियल कॉज ऑफ द डिजास्टर. नेक्स्ट कम्स इज द इनएडवोकेट एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन. इससे जितनी ज्यादा पॉपुलेशन उतना ज्यादा पॉल्यूशन भी हो रहा है. पहले क्या होता था कि एनवायरनमेंट को आप जो खुला छोड़ दो वो अपने आप जो है हील कर लेगा, अपने आप को हीलिंग कैपेसिटी है. जैसे कि अगर मैं आपसे एग्जांपल की बात करूं तो ईस्ट कलकत्ता जो है, ईस्ट कलकत्ता वेटलैंड की अगर हम बात करें, वहां पे उसमें जो है कलकत्ता का सारा गंदा पानी उसमें जाता है, बट उसमें इतनी क्षमता है कि वो अपने आप को हील कर सके। Now, with the growing youth population, there is huge need of the employment opportunity. सो अब जितनी ज्यादा जनसंख्या होगी उतनी रोजगार की बात होगी कि हर एक व्यक्ति को रोजगार देना पड़ेगा। नाउ कल परसों के न्यूज़पेपर में यू विल सी दैट द गवर्नमेंट ने जो है कुछ जॉब्स के लिए जो है आवेदन मंगाया, तो बहुत सारे लोगों ने जो उसको फिल किया है। यू कैन सी नाउ डेज द पीपल हु हैव डन द पीएचडी दे आर अप्लाइंग फॉर द स्वीपर जॉब। सो दैट इज द सिनेरियो। और वहीं पर आप देखोगे कुछ कंट्रीज हैं जहां पर पॉपुलेशन बिल्कुल नहीं है, एंड वहां पे जो है उनको जो है ये लोगों को ये कहना पड़ता है कि जो है पॉपुलेशन बढ़ाओ, एनकरेज करना पड़ता है। रिसोर्सेज बहुत ज्यादा है वहां पे, काम करने के लिए लोग नहीं है। फॉर एग्जांपल कनाडा में क्यों जाते हैं लोग कनाडा में? क्योंकि वहां पे जॉब मिल जाते हैं। जॉब, वो लोग अब इतना डेवलप्ड हो चुके हैं। So the people go to the Canada because one thing is that they have the less population. The other thing is that they does not do the linear jobs, like they will not do the sweeping, they will not do the plumbing or the other small works. So इसलिए जो है they go to that area. Then Australia's population is less. So Australia gives the citizenship. ऑस्ट्रेलिया सिटीजनशिप देता है कि आप जाओ वहां पे रहो, अगर उनको ठीक लगता है आप अप्लाई करो, यू अप्लाई एंड दे विल प्रोवाइड यू द सिटीजनशिप टू यू। Then the outdated technology, the level of the technology in the agriculture and the small scale industries is still outdated and the obsolete. Next comes is the topic that is the, and these topics are of the means, so that's why I am discussing with you. The next comes is the demographic trend in the India. Scientific study of the characteristics of the population is known as the demography. Now, the various aspects of the demographic trend in the India are they are the size of the population, rate of the growth, birth and the death rates, then the density of the population, sex ratio, the life expectancy at the birth, literacy ratio. So we would be discussing them one by one. First comes is the size of the population. Now, population growth chart have been shown how the population explosion has happened in the India. Now you can see that at the time of the 1911, or we can see that at the time of the independence 1951. So annual growth rate of the population was 1.25. It has risen to the 1.6. The population has exploded from 36.11 to the 121.02 crore. 121 करोड़ हो गई है, एक समय पर 36 करोड़ थी। Now over a period of the 100 years, India has quadrupled its population size, चार गुना कर दिया हमने। Now, in terms of the size of the population, India ranks the second in the world after the China. India has only the 2.4% of the world's geographical area. I told you na, we have the resources less, and with such resources, we require the India of the size 2.5, जो आज का इंडिया है उसका 2.5 गुना चाहिए। वी रिक्वायर द 2.5 टाइम्स ऑफ द इंडिया डेट द लैंड वी हैव नाउ। Now, in the coming years, you will find that the people will start planting in the they will start planting in the ocean also, lakes also. They would also be utilized in the coming years because land would not be sufficient to provide the agriculture produce, and then the elimination of the species will happen. Ultimately, this the theory of the Darwin, the who is a perfect will only survive. जो परफेक्ट है वही सरवाइव कर पाएगा, और वो एक्चुअली दिस थ्योरी इट इज इम्प्लीमेंटेड because lack of the resources, more wants, then elimination will definitely help, will be there. The world's geographical area and the contributes to the less than 1.2% of the world's income, but accommodates about the 17.5% of the world's population. In other words, the every sixth person in the world is an Indian. हर छठा व्यक्ति वर्ल्ड में आपको जो है इंडियन मिलेगा. जहां भी आप पत्थर फेंकोगे एक भारतीय आपको जरूर मिलेगा वहां से. Now, in fact, the combined population of the just two states, namely the Uttar Pradesh and the Maharashtra, is more than the population of the United States of the America, the third most populous country of the world. The some of the states in the India have the larger population than the many countries in the world. The negative growth rate during the 1911 to 21 was due to the rapid and the frequent occurrence of the epidemics like the cholera, the plague, and the influenza, and the other famines. So negative growth rate ही. Why negative growth rate was there? Negative growth rate was there due to these the cholera, plague, and the influenza, and the famines which have occurred. The year of the 1200 1921 is known as the year of the Great Divide. तो इस साल को हम बोलते हैं द ईयर ऑफ द ग्रेट डिवाइड फॉर द इंडियाज पॉपुलेशन एज द पॉपुलेशन स्टार्ट्स इंक्रीजिंग ड्यूरिंग द 1951 population growth rate has come down from the 1.33% to the 1.25%. Now hence it is known as the year of the small divide. So these words you have to write in your exam: year of the great divide, year of the small divide. Now, in the 1961, the population of the India started increasing at a rate of the 1.96%. That is approx 2%. Hence, the 1961 is termed as the year of the population explosion. Now, in the year 2001, the population of the India crossed 1 billion, that is the 100 crore mark. The 2001 one census reveals the growth of the youth population, which is described as the demographic transition. Next comes as the birth and the death rate. Now, crude birth rate. Now, what do you mean by crude birth rate? Now, crude birth rate, it refers to the number of the births per the thousand of the population. So, number of the births per thousand of the population. Now, crude death rate, crude death rate, it refers to the number of the death per thousand of the population. Now, crude birth and the death rates during the various year they have given. So, this is in 1951. There was the birth rate was the 39.9. Then, whereas the death rate was the 27.4. Then in 2001, you will find that the it was 25.4 and it has been 8.4. So death rate कम हो गई. एक बार balance था. In 1951 there was a balance. But later you say that there was no balance. लोग मर ही नहीं रहे हैं और उससे ज्यादा पैदा हो रहे हैं. So that is the reason of the population explosion. Now, birth rate was the 39.9 in the 1951. It fell to the 21.8 in the 2001. Although the rate has declined, the decline is not remarkable. So decline birth rate मान लो decline हो गया ज्यादा था इस समय but death rate वो भी तो decline हो गया death rate जो है it increase बराबर होना चाहिए it should be same the death rate and the birth rate. Now, the declined to the 27 in 1950 and the 7.41 in the 2011. However, from the data, it is clear that the fall of the birth rate is less than that of the death rate. This statement you have to write in the exam that the data shows that the in 1951 the birth rate was less and than that of the death rate as compared to the 2011. Now, Kerala has the lowest birth rate of the 14.7 and the Uttar Pradesh has the highest birth rate of the 29.5. West Bengal has the lowest death rate of the 6.3. Odisha has the 9.2. That is the highest people died in the Odisha. Among the states of the Bihar has the highest decadal, that is the 2001 to the 11 growth rate of the population, while the Kerala has the lowest growth rate. The four states, the Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, the Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, they are known as the Bimaru states. have the high population. Now next is the density of the population. So density, how density of the population is finded? It refers to the average number of the person residing the per square kilometer. So हर एक square kilometer में कितने लोग रह सकते हैं वो ये find किया जाता है. It represents the man to the land ratio. As the total land area remains the same, an increase in the population causes the density of the population to rise. So if you have to find out the density of the population, it is equivalent to the total population divided by the land area of that region. Now, density of the population, 1951 it was 117, then in 2011 it was 382. Now, just before the independence, the density of the population was less than the 100, but after the independence it has increased. मतलब कि if I talk to you in simple words, it is that the per area or the per square kilometer, how many people can live. So at that time in the 1951, they were the 117, and it has risen in the 2011, the previous census. But after the independence, it has increased rapidly from the 117 to the 325. According to the 2011 census, the present density of the population is 382. The pressure of the population on the land has been rising. Kerala, West Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh have the density higher than the India's average density. So remember these, the Kerala, West Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, they have the higher density. Then the Bihar is the most densely populated state. Remember that, which covers the with the 1102 persons living per square kilometer, followed by the West Bengal with the 880. Arunachal Pradesh has the low density of the population, which has only the 17 persons. Now next comes is the sex ratio. Now it refers to the, what do you mean by the sex ratio? It refers to the number of the females per the thousand males. Now it is an important indicator to measure the extent of the prevailing the equity, not the equality, equity between the male and the female. So the data of the three that they have given. So in 1951 it was 946. Now it has declined. So to the 940. And let's see अभी इस नया data, new data is about to come. Now in India, the sex ratio is more favorable to the males than to the females. In Kerala, the adult sex ratio is 1084 as in the 2011. The recent census showed that there has been a marginal increase in the sex ratio. Haryana has the lowest. So as per the intermediate data, मतलब कि जो बीच का डाटा था, it has shown an increase due to the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao. An increase has been seen in this data. So this time the census will happen, and the new data when it will come, the change you will find there would be a huge change in these data. Among other states, the Kerala provides the better status to the women as compared to the other states, that is the 1084 females. So the females are more, and the or the sex ratio is the highest in the Kerala. Next comes to the life expectancy at the birth. It refers to the mean expectation of the life at the birth. Life expectancy has improved over the years. Now remember this, it has improved. Life expectancy ये improve हुई है in the past years. Life expectancy is low when the death rate is high. So I will go slow. Life expectancy is low. Kab? When it is low. It is low when the death rate is high. जब death rate high होगा तो life expectancy वो low होगी. And or instances of the early death rate or the high. On the other hand, the life expectancy is high when the death rate is low. So life expectancy वो high कब होगी? When the death rate is low. Now, during the 1901 to the 11, the life expectancy was just 23 years. Now, it has increased to the 63.5 years in the 2011. Now, a considerable fall in the death rate is responsible for the improvement in the life expectancy at the birth. Now, the reason for this is because at that time, before the partition or the before the independence, the health facilities or the health infrastructure was not such good so as it is now. So there has been an improvement in the quality of the life in terms, but the as compared to the other countries, it is less, but as compared to the our previous time or the British era, it is more. However, the life expectancy in the India is very low compared to that of the developed countries से अगर हम कंपेयर करें तो वो बहुत कम है. अगर हम ब्रिटिश एरा से कंपेयर करें तो ज्यादा है. The next comes is the literacy ratio. It refers to the number of the literate in an percentage of the total population. In 1951, one-fourth of the males and the one-twelfth of the female were the literate. This data you should use in your exam. That at the one-twelfth, one-fourth of the male and the one-twelfth. Now, thus, on an average, only one-sixth of the people of the country were literate. Means that छह में से एक व्यक्ति ही पढ़ा लिखा था उस समय. In 2011, the 82% of the males and the 65.5% of the female were literate, giving an overall literacy rate of the 74.04. The thing is that the definition of the literacy is contested. Now, the definition in the modern world of the literacy, it has to be changed. So there is no appropriate definition of the literacy that is given. So एक ऐसी definition होनी चाहिए. Literacy, what does it mean? If you know about the writing and you are able to solve basic mathematical questions, you are a literate. But that is not enough in the modern era. Modern era, you should be able to handle the online transaction. You should be able to write something in a good language. You should be able to communicate in your mother tongue itself. That should be a literate. And the definition it has to be changed. Now, when compared to the other developed countries and the even the Sri Lanka, this rate is very low. So they have been showing you the males and the females, and the we are concerned with the 2011 and the 1951. Now Kerala की सबसे ज्यादा है, that is 92%. It is followed by the Goa, that is 82%. Himachal Pradesh is the 76%. Maharashtra is the 75%, and the Tamil Nadu is the 74%. Bihar has the lowest literacy rate. Remember that. कई बार पूछ लेता है आपको in the sequence में लगाने के लिए दे देता है to make them in the sequence. So you should remember at least three or the four states who have the highest literacy. Now, what are the natural resources? Any stock or the reserve that can be drawn from the nature are the natural resources. Okay, so this was all in this class, the part one. So next part from the 7.4 part, we would be doing the tomorrow. Not the tomorrow, on Monday. So 7.4 से हम Monday को पढ़ेंगे. Do read it again. Do make your notes on the same day. आपको नोट्स बनाने में 1 hour लगेगा. You will be making your notes or you will be writing. So make the quick notes for the prelims and the mains. Sir, one has to write his name in the English in order to qualify as literate. But that is not enough, na. You should be able to handle the online transaction. You would be able to handle the currency properly. You should be good at that, and the this thing has to be changed. And bye, take care. We will be meeting on Monday now. Monday and the Tuesday, two more classes for the 7th.